The Athletic is the must-have service for sports fans with in-depth, ad-free coverage of every sports story that matters. It's the gift you want yourself and the perfect present for the sports fan in your life. The Athletic this holiday season is spread the joy of better sports coverage. Give an annual subscription to The Athletic, get one free. Now is the time to take advantage of getting your subscription and giving one free to see for yourself the creativity, the reporting, and the storytelling that sets The Athletic apart. And if you go to theathletic.com/birdswithfriends, you can receive 2 all-access subscriptions for just the price of one. It's like having 2 quarterbacks when you only need one. Get unrivaled sports coverage for an unbeatable price. So go to theathletic.com/birdswithfriends, receive 2 all-access subscriptions for just the price of one, and make your boys and Marissa look good. We hope to see you there.
To your mother, it's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just a trio of feathery brethren weathering any season to see the Eagles eat teams like Scrammy's top with cheese. It's Philadelphia, Bo, Sheila, and Zach kicking it cooler than 3 penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some Birds with Friends. The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some Birds with Friends. Bo, Sheila, and Zach coming at you with steps and things flapping their wings on.
Do you think Jack Del Rio's not going to go to the bar and get a drink and then come back and run his team meeting? Give me a break.
I can't speak to what Jack Del Rio's going to do, but what I can tell you is
Marissa,
is that,
let's make that the drop.
But what I can tell you is,
hello everybody, and welcome to a post-game Birds with Friends at 12
is that my internet or both?
in the morning, following the Eagles season by Zach Berman and Marissa Morris. What did I miss here? Everybody doing all right?
Your internet went out for a moment, so
we're starting the show off great.
Oh, good. That's exciting. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Did you hear any of the intro?
We
did. The beginning. Good morning.
Oh, okay. Well,
or whatever.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
How's everybody doing? Yeah. Well, now we're totally thrown off, but that's okay. Having some internet issues. That's probably going to be a problem throughout the episode, so we'll see how that goes. I'm not going to be able to watch the comments, so Marissa, you can let us know if there's anything interesting on the comments, and we'll just see how far we get. I'd like to hear a Zach soliloquy anyway, and maybe you'll just end up having to call one of your brothers, and you guys can host the show together.
Are you pitching it to me there? Am I supposed to respond?
Yeah, that was me, you.
Yeah, am I supposed to respond to the game part, to the how am I doing part, to the brothers part?
You're supposed to respond to whatever you want.
Look, I'm excited for this
Act
podcast.
like I'm not here.
I'm excited for this podcast. This was a game that I think warrants a lot of discussion, both in terms of the short term and the long term, right? Like this was a game that we can discuss the specifics of the game, but we can also discuss what it means going forward. And after it's week 15 of the season, we've come on this podcast now after 9 losses this season. And there have been losses where it's just like we're repeating ourselves. Now we're in a situation where I really think there's substantial future of the organization questions that are on the verge of being answered, and that with each week we're getting more evidence about.
I agree with you, Zach. I don't know about
Marissa, this might be you and me doing this podcast. Oh, that's okay.
Oh no.
Can you hear us, Bo?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? But we're like, yes. Our timing is all off. Let me try to refresh here. You guys try to vamp for a couple of minutes. Zach, let me ask you this. Yes. Why don't you take us through while I try to restart what Doug Peterson said after the game?
Sure. So there are a lot of different things here. First off, we'll start with his evaluation of Jalen Hurts. You might remember last week after the game, he was a little more tempered in what he was saying about Jalen. Tonight, he was more effusive, frankly, about Hurts. He liked the way Hurts played, liked the throws that he made in and out of the pocket, liked the toughness, mental and physical, liked the leadership that Jalen Hurts showed. So there are certainly things Jalen Hurts can work on, but he put the team in position to win the game. He did not name the starting quarterback for next week. I know there is some question as to why he just doesn't come out and say it's Jalen Hurts. I think it's fairly obvious to all of us that Jalen Hurts will start next week. I think that if Doug Peterson was on this podcast with us, or if we were just talking with Doug Peterson, rather, I think he would probably say the same. I don't think he wants to do so publicly. This is my opinion, because I'm knowing Doug, I think he would rather deliver that message first to the parties involved. So my guess is he wants to tell Jalen and Carson, and maybe it extends to people in the front office before he makes that public declaration. But I think we can assume very safely that Jalen Hurts will be the starting quarterback next week.
This is such a ridiculous dance that Doug Peterson and the Eagles are doing. Of course he's going to be the starter next week. Like, why do we have to go through this charade just to like mollycoddle Carson Wentz's ego? It's so stupid.
Yeah, that's if that's what's central to it, that the massaging Carson Wentz's ego.
What else would there be? What other reason could there be?
Well, I think, like I said, knowing Doug, that he doesn't want his players to find out something through the media. So he doesn't want to get up on the lectern and say, or at the lectern, not on the lectern. He's not standing on it.
Good job by going lectern over podium. Nice job.
Thank you. Yeah, it's actually a pet peeve of mine when people say podium.
Good.
Yeah. He doesn't want to stand at the lectern and say that Jalen Hurts is starting, Carson Wentz isn't starting, without delivering the message to them first. I don't know for a fact that's the reason, but just from being around Doug for 5 years now, I assume that's the reason.
Okay, before we get to the stuff that happened in this game and also the stuff that could happen big picture, and I think you and I disagree a little bit on what this means for the future of this Eagles team, let's set up the stakes for what could possibly happen here on this episode, swooper forecasting wise. Is that fair, Zach? Let's go through the scoreboard.
Sure, because that's more important than the game. So
yeah, of course. We got to set the stakes.
I gotta
for the
say,
episode.
all the comments in the chat are dying to know if they're going to see another Berman tonight.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, I am going to address that. So let's get
very nice drop of your Jersey accent there when you said "ool." Nice. The later at night it is,
it slips out sometimes.
The more it comes out, I think. Okay, Zach's irons in the fire. Travis Fulgham has more catches than Larry Fitzgerald. This was actually ended up pretty close, but I think Fitzgerald beat him out. Right? He had 3-2. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, he did beat out Fulgham.
Okay, so if only Travis Fulgham had existed for the Eagles before the second half of this game, you might have had that. At least one of the two starting quarterbacks sets a career high in rushing yards. Unfortunately, that did not happen for you. But Jalen Hurts' longest run is longer than Kyler Murray's longest run. So you had that. You also have Zach convinces his wife or one of his brothers to join the post-game pod for at least 5 minutes, and during the guest's appearance, Zach will remain on screen but silent. So that could happen in this episode. Let's find out if it will matter. You've got one with potentially two pending. Sheil, DeAndre Hopkins has the most receiving yards against the Eagles of any player this season, which was 184. Hopkins had 169, so he does not hit that, but he does hit. DeAndre Hopkins sets a season high in receiving yards, which was 151, so that's one for Sheil. He also had Kyler Murray has a run of 30 yards or more, which did not happen. And Jalen Mills does his finger wag on an incompletion that he has nothing to do with. And that, unfortunately and surprisingly, did not happen. Bo, Elijah Riley plays 20% of the defensive snaps. Did not happen. Jake Elliott makes every kick. Yes, he did. He did not attempt a kick on the fumbled snap on the field goal attempt from Lovato to Zach Ertz. So that's one. And then at least one player in the game has multiple sacks. Thank you to my man from the Arizona Cardinals, the guy who looks like Latimer from the program. Gardek, Dennis Gardek, who just is a juice machine, gets 2 sacks. So I have 2. So Zach, it is up to you whether you will be eliminated from the season-long Super Storecasting or not. You can force a tie, which would make it 3.5 to 3.5 to 1.5, setting up a very exciting final 2 weeks of the season. How are you feeling?
Well, I need to talk to Marissa here because
Okay.
she is
To
the
preface
judge.
this, I have not heard this
She
conversation.
has not heard.
yet,
Only
so
Sheil and Bo have.
I'm like
this
nervous.
Is something. This is something that came up in conversation after the game, and what I am proposing is I am working on this begrudgingly, I would say reluctantly. This is not something I'm happy with, and as I stated in a text, very clearly that as much as I dislike losing, I would accept losing rather than like succumbing my brothers to or subjecting my brothers to what goes on this podcast.
Few people better suited for this than you, who has, I believe, 37 brothers.
I have 4 brothers. But this is so I feel like for this, Sheil should be involved. Number 1, and number 2, because we're doing a midnight pod. Because we're doing a midnight pod, and some of my brothers are probably getting up like an hour after we finish this podcast to go to work. I will say that's not really a flex. That's just
early birds over there.
What if I delivered for the Wednesday podcast still before the next game? Still before the next game, you can get whatever shenanigans you want. You can have the 5 minutes. I don't know why this is a thing, but if I were to deliver for the Wednesday podcast, would that suffice for fulfilling the expectation? Deal. All right, good.
You're the arbiter, Marissa.
I agree. He's still delivering, and according to what was stated, it did not.
It said post-game pod.
It did.
I feel like there's a case to be made.
So that's why I asked you about the
we will be doing the
anyway.
Squall 22.
And Zach can keeps it along, but
we'll still be doing the Squall 22 on Wednesday, correct? So technically,
it's
we're
before
still
the next game. I think it's a bit of a subversion of the rules, but I am willing to look the other way on behalf of the rest of the audience. I think it's in their best interests.
I agree.
Practically speaking, would you throw someone onto the podcast with, well, I suppose Marissa could ask questions too, but with Bo leading the way, like I feel like Sheil could at least be a buffer to whatever questions might be coming.
I think you're being unfair to me. I think you should know that I'm not going to go too far. I would go too far with you, not with one of your
You literally asked me about my honeymoon on like the second podcast we had. Yes.
You could get one of your kids on here too, and then they really won't say it too much because
that would be great. Yeah.
So they might just like play with the mic, and the timer starts as soon as they sit down. So.
But knowing that, they wouldn't last 5 minutes. They would be like 30 seconds with the mic, and then they.
How about this, Zach? I say you get the points if you allow the listeners to vote on which Berman should come on the podcast.
The listeners want 2 brothers if we're waiting till
that would be good.
Mark,
two brothers or a wife. Or one. I would say 2 brothers equals 1 wife.
If he pushes to Wednesday, he has to double the brothers.
I don't know about this. No, Marissa already ruled.
You've got some time to think it over. Okay. Marissa, you
and I think it gives us all something to look forward to. It's like
it gives us something to look forward to.
Or like Christmas present.
Why don't you monitor the comments and let us know if there are any other reasonable
brother
suggestions?
Needs to appear in Zach's mirror.
Okay. Let's get to the actual game, Zach. I'm going to switch internets here, so I might go out for a second. So I'm going to give you a question that you can potentially vamp on. Let's talk about just this game itself. What did you think of the way the Eagles handled the end of the game? What did you think of that drive? And then going like 2 30-yard Hail Marys. It seemed like potentially they could have called something a little bit more creative there.
Yes, I'll address the second question first. I didn't like the two Hail Marys. Obviously, they couldn't throw short of the end zone inbound, so it would have needed to be something toward the sideline. And I imagine the Cardinals were playing that might have been behind kind of the logic of going to the end zone. But I didn't think those were high percentage passes. I probably would have taken one shot at the sideline and then one shot at the end zone. They didn't do that. But frankly, I thought where they really hurt themselves was on the previous drive. They got to the 13-yard line, 14-yard line. Hurts took 2 sacks there. Can't take those sacks in that situation. But I thought he put a real good throw on to Goddard, right? On the third down pass.
Really nice throw. Yeah.
Yeah. Goddard had a shot there. Right. And so I that was a tough play. And then the fourth down play, that was more of a jump ball. Arizona played good defense there. But I think that when you have, I think first and goal not first and goal, a first and 10 from the 13 or the 14, you need a better effort there than 2 sacks.
Did you think it looked weird? Like Dallas Goedert could have been in better position on the last play of the game.
I thought so too. Yeah,
I know that like I don't want to be nitpicky. And he had gotten crushed on the play before, so I'm sure he was exhausted. But it feels like he could have been right in position to catch that.
So what would you have done on the third down? Run to the sideline?
I mean, 30 yards out, you don't need to be throwing a Hail Mary. Even if it's not, even if you're not picking up, 10, 15 yards, you could have taken a different kind of shot at the end zone, I feel like. But I don't know. Maybe you think 2 shots is better than one.
Yeah, I mean,
I just think you
can't go short of the sticks, though.
Like,
if you go short of the sticks, I shouldn't say short of the sticks, short of the end zone. If you go short of the end zone, I don't think you're going to spike.
Well, yeah, it's got to be towards the sideline. So it's either, it's either like an 11-yard pickup or a shot at the end zone. But 30 yards out is not like, doesn't need to be a Hail Mary. I feel like you could put something together. I don't know. Maybe that's unfair.
Fair enough.
Okay, I think my internet's settled. Am I looking good to you guys?
You always are.
Smooth. Oh, thanks. All right, let's get to the big question then, because this is, I think, the whole shebang. You and I disagree a little bit about this. We were talking about it before the podcast. I think it's over. I think that Jalen Hurts is the quarterback for this Eagles team in 2021, at least week 1. I think the Carson Wentz era is done. Whether or not he knows it, whether or not the Eagles know it, it's over. Hurts has shown enough in these 2 games, and I know that you cannot judge a quarterback by 2 games. It's a tiny sample size. You can't extrapolate this, but he's shown enough that the Eagles now need to find out if he's the quarterback. And Carson Wentz is not going to, the report that comes out today, he doesn't want to be a backup. It's not necessarily news. It's more news that his people are seeding that out there. Not that the content itself is news, but that the report being out there is news. I think this whole thing is going down exactly the path that we sort of thought it might once they benched Carson Wentz. I think that the locker room is not going to forget the fact that Hurts looks a lot better than, like, the offense itself looks much better with Hurts than it does with Wentz. I think this whole thing is a fait accompli at this point. I think Carson Wentz has played his last game with the Eagles, barring injury.
I disagree. I'm not suggesting that can't happen or that the probability of that occurring has increased over the past 8 hours or so. But what I don't think, I think you're dismissing the possibility and perhaps you can say the likelihood that the Eagles look at the financial obligation, they look at the past performance, they look at the potential upside and say our mission, our objective this offseason is to fix Carson Wentz. So what we're going to do is we're going to build an infrastructure with the sole intent, or I shouldn't say the sole intent, because your main intent is to win Super Bowls, but with the purpose, with the intent of fixing Carson Wentz. That's not like a sticking my head in the sand and picking Carson Wentz aside or anything like that. That's just looking at this from a practical perspective between the cap obligation, the commitment the organization's made, and the fact that a 2-game sample size on Jalen Hurts is not big enough, as encouraging as it is. And what is the upside for Jalen Hurts? Is the what's the most likely outcome for Jalen Hurts? I would say it's still middle of the pack quarterback. I don't think it's top third of the league quarterback.
Probably, but on a rookie contract.
On a rookie contract, yeah. So what you're doing there is if you say, all right, we are committing to Jalen Hurts as our quarterback next year, then you're essentially doing what the Broncos did last year with Drew Lock. Drew Lock finished the season 4-0, or something like that. I don't have the Drew Lock numbers in front of me, but you have a second round pick who shows promise, and you don't know what the upside is, but you're encouraged by what you saw, and so you're going into the next year based on that limited sample size. And I think that I don't know if that's the best course of action. Now, I don't know if Carson Wentz will ever get back to 2017 form. I don't know if he'll ever get back to 2019 form, but I do know that the Eagles have a larger sample size they go off of with Carson, and they have $128 million contract that hasn't even commenced with Carson Wentz. So I don't think it's going to be a knee-jerk reaction. I think it's going to be looking at, who's your head coach? What's the infrastructure around him? Meaning, what's your offensive system? Who's calling the plays? Who else is on the roster? And then you go from there. And maybe you decide a change of scenery is best for both sides, and that could make sense. But I'm not sitting here saying it's over. The Carson Wentz era is done based on 2 games from Jalen Hurts.
I think all of those things are potentially true, and I also think that they are just stepping stones in the inevitability of what is going to happen. And if you ask me who is more likely to have the better career from here on out, I think the evidence is probably tilted a little bit in Carson Wentz's favor. I think he has enough of a sample size that there's a good chance he's going to be the better quarterback for the rest of their 2 respective careers. It's only been 2 games for Jalen Hurts. But in this organization, having turned the page, having benched Carson Wentz and brought in Jalen Hurts, and the offense looking so much better with Jalen Hurts at quarterback, I think you are underestimating the locker room's impact on this decision. I don't think quarterback competitions happen in a vacuum. And I think Jason Kelsey's comments from this week are instructive in this sense. He was talking about something entirely different, but the line of, I have it here because it's in my column, the moment a team feels like you as an organization aren't doing your job for me to go out there and win, all of a sudden you've shown who you are. You don't care about me or this team. And if you as an organization are going to prioritize protecting your investment in one player over putting the team on the field that gives the team its best chance to win in the eyes of the players, I think you are starting from scratch. I think you are starting from day one having lost the locker room. If you're going to tell me that Carson Wentz is the quarterback, nothing else happens, I think you have half the locker room, if not more, tuning out. I mean, listen to the way these guys talk about Jalen Hurts.
You're operating under the premise that like the locker room has lost complete faith in Carson Wentz.
I don't think they've lost. I think there are a lot of guys who like Carson Wentz, but I think they're watching the same thing we're watching. The team and the offense is much better with Jalen Hurts. The way they talk about Jalen Hurts, like this natural leader, it's not like he's some schlub. I think it's over.
Yeah, but you're not making a decision based on like what Quez Watkins thinks, right? You know, you're talking.
But
like,
these
like
guys
who
are
the
watching
pole
the
setters
same
in the locker
thing
room?
we're watching.
I mean, who are the pole setters in the locker room?
Jason Peters.
I mean, if you're well, first off, you have to establish who's back next year and who's not back next year,
right?
Like there could be.
But I mean, like Fletcher Cox saying he wanted Carson Wentz to be the starter. Guess what? That was before Jalen Hurts' first game, and they've looked like he saw the team has looked a lot better in these last 2 games. You know, it's possible that Jalen Hurts goes out and throws 10 interceptions in the next 2 games, and this looks silly. I don't think that's going to happen. And I think this is the door that they opened when they benched him. And, you know, we can argue, I think they could have benched him sooner and maybe they would be in the playoffs right now. And this is the possibility you open yourselves up to, in that in benching him, he could be gone forever. And that's the way that this is playing out. I think Jalen Hurts is probably, history tells us, going to be a middle of the road quarterback at best. But I think this is it now. Even if I don't even think that they can both come back and enter a quarterback competition in the summer. I think it's over.
Disagree. And I don't want to take anything away from Jalen Hurts. He's played two good. He's played two good games. And frankly, if you read it, well, those who read my column, which will be out in a few hours, which is about like the evaluation of Doug Peterson. Now that we've seen Jalen Hurts, it's more in line with what you're saying than what I'm arguing. But I'm not giving you my opinion of what I think should happen. I'm practically telling you like how I think this could play out, number one. And I think you're overstating the weight that a 4-9-1 locker room is going to carry, right? Like this is how many of these guys are going to be back and are going to be core players when they win?
Well, you know who's coming back? The guys who are going to be core players, the young guys who love Jalen Hurts. That's who's coming back. Jalen Reagor.
It's just like I can't say this enough. It's a 2-game sample size, right?
I know it is, but there's recency bias, and he's been really, really good. He's been freaking awesome.
True.
True.
But I can give you a 2-game sample size where Carson Wentz has been really good too.
Of course you can, but he's been good. He's been good in different ways. Against the Saints, he plays from ahead. He uses his arms, doesn't have to throw too much. And then the excuses are, that's game script was super positive for him. Like, let's see what he has to do when he has to come behind. Well, guess what happens the next week? He starts off terribly. They're down 16-0, and he almost leads them to a come from behind victory. They might win if they, have good special teams. They probably do win if they don't have like the worst special teams performance you've ever seen. So he throws for over 300 yards. I
agree with all this
from scrimmage in the first 2 games. He's like the 5th best of all time. Not all those guys are great. Maybe he's just Matt Flynn, but you have to see what you have, I think. It's a nice scenario where you trade Carson Wentz, you eat the money, you try out Jalen Hurts for a year, and if he's not there, you can go back to the drawing board, and you're rebuilding with this turned over roster anyway. But I think this is what they have to do.
So a few things there. First off,
and also, go ahead.
There's no argument that could be made that this offense this year is better with Carson Wentz than Jalen Hurts. Like, they were bad with Carson Wentz. They are much better with Jalen Hurts. Doug Peterson has called better games with Jalen Hurts than with Carson Wentz. The team has responded more with Jalen Hurts than with Carson Wentz. The way I phrased it in my column, I don't have it in front of me, but it's almost become prescriptive. It's like when someone goes on an elimination diet to try to figure out like what's causing them problems, and they figure out, that the food that they eliminated was like the source of the problem. That's what you're seeing here with this Eagles offense. And frankly, I think that bodes well to Doug Peterson, to the evaluation of Doug Peterson and the evaluation to the rest of the roster. Practically speaking, I understand all of that. What I am saying, and don't take this as me supporting Carson Wentz or saying they need to go with Carson Wentz. I'm just saying that there's a big financial obligation, and the question that they need to ask is who has the better chance of being a top of the league quarterback, top third of the league, Carson Wentz or Jalen Hurts. And I bring up that Drew Lock example because you can be fooled by a limited sample size of a rookie quarterback. And as poorly as Carson Wentz has played this year, he will get the benefit of the doubt because not just of the sample size, but because of the contract.
Well, a couple. Those are fair points. First of all, if you can't be hiring a coach because you think he's going to give you a better shot to resurrect Carson Wentz. You can't be making the
That's what happens all the time in this league.
You cannot be making you cannot sell it as we think this is the guy who's going to turn around Carson Wentz when he just got benched. Just as you say, there's no way that you could make the case that Carson Wentz should be the quarterback again this season, nothing is going to change from the end of the season until the beginning of next season.
So much is going to change from the end of the season.
But Jalen Hurts will still be the one who finished the season playing better.
Yeah, but so much like the offseason, that's
that's
what I'm saying. Well, here, I'll say it this way.
To be like, okay, Jalen Hurts was great at the end of the year. He deserved to be the starter. Carson, you're our guy. That would be insane.
No, but one scenario that they cannot have, and this is where I will agree. There cannot be a scenario in which both Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz return, because then then you're just running your head against the wall, right? It's like it's the same thing, and you're just hoping that it's better. That won't happen. But if you're committing to Carson Wentz, and therefore you bring in a new coach and a new offensive system, what you're selling.
What you're bringing, you cannot sell like we bring in this guy because we think he's going to be the one to resurrect Carson Wentz. What happens if Carson stinks again for 3 games and they have to replace him with Jalen Hurts, and all of a sudden you've got another head coach who is a bad fit?
But like this is what happens in coaching all the time. You know, they're talking about this frankly with the Chargers with Justin Herbert. I think you and Shield supported this on the podcast the other night, that you have to bring in a coach who is going to like maximize Justin Herbert, right?
Well, just because Anthony Lynn's a bad coach.
But my point is that's like that logic can't apply with Justin Herbert, but not apply with Carson Wentz, right? Teams make decisions all the time based on the quarterback. What you're trying to, if the Eagles make a coaching change, my opinion is the coaching change will be done to try to unlock Carson Wentz. Or to try to fix. I don't think
there is really any precedent, and I guess we should look into this. But I can't think of any precedent of a quarterback being benched and then getting his job back, like at this level with the backup playing this well. I mean, it's not dissimilar from like the Kevin Kolb, Michael Vick thing, like. Mm-hmm. One guy is your quarterback. He's your quarterback. And then another guy gets a shot and he outplays him. And that's it. It's over.
Yeah. Now there's also, I agree. And I think Tony Dungy made that comment this week that like, once you decide to bench your quarterback, you decide to move on. And frankly, this is something that I said throughout October, November, when we were talking about the possibility of benching Carson. I said, once you go there, you have to accept what could happen. Like you can't just look at the Kevin Kolb example.
What has happened,
and this is what happened. Yeah, I don't want to. This is a good conversation. I don't want to interrupt it, but I do think that we're at a good time for the advertisements.
Good point.
Right, like I don't want to get carried away and then be in the last 20 minutes of the show and squeeze in.
That's a fair point.
And squeeze in the nice word from our sponsors.
So
while you think about your next argument, I will tell you that. Here's something else to think about. The 2021 basketball season. Wait, hold on. This is the right order. Okay, correct. Sorry. The 2021 basketball season is here. The teams around the league took the offseason to retool and revamp and are ready to hit the court, just like we're saying the Eagles could retool and revamp this offseason. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, has rolled out another one of their can't-miss offers. Trying DraftKings Sportsbook is easy. So what are you waiting for? Get in on all of the action now. To celebrate the return of basketball, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving new players 100-1 odds on any featured matchup this week. I wish I was a new player. Those would be great odds. That's right. All you have to do is bet $1 on any featured matchup this week. And if your team wins, you can cash a crisp $100. While we're all excited for the return of basketball, let's not forget football's playoffs are right around the corner. So head to the app now to check out all the DraftKings daily odds boosts. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, making it easy for you to deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code TOSS, T-O-S-S, when you sign up to get 100-1 odds on any featured matchup this week. That's code TOSS, T-O-S-S, for new players to get a shot at $100 on any featured matchup this week for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Pennsylvania only. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino, see DraftKings.com/sportsbook. For details, gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
How often do you use excuses like, I had a long day at work, or I'm just not feeling it, or I haven't announced my quarterback yet, I'll have to get back to you tomorrow? It isn't easy to talk about erectile dysfunction, but Roman makes it easy to discuss and treat ED. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for ED, all from the comfort and privacy of your home. And let's be honest, we're all in our home nonstop these days, right? A healthcare professional will work with you to find the best treatment plan. If medication is appropriate, Roman will ship you real medicine with free 2-day shipping. The whole process is straightforward, simple, and discreet. It used to be totally discreet. Do you think it's no longer totally discreet, or it's just that's redundant?
I hope it's.
I think it's. I feel comfortable saying and speaking for our friends at Roman that it is still totally discreet. Getting started is simple. Just go to getroman.com/BWF and complete an online visit. Erectile dysfunction used to be tough to talk about, but now there's Roman. Complete an online visit today to connect with a doctor and take care of it. Just go to getroman.com/BWF to get $15 off your first order of ED treatment, a free online visit, and free 2-day shipping. That's getroman.com/BWF for $15 off your first order of ED treatment. Getroman.com/BWF. Okay, Zach, I guess let's talk a little bit about the game specifically. And it was an ugly start for the Eagles. It looked like this game might get totally out of hand. Just to set the stage, the Eagles had no Darius Slay in this game. They were starting Michael Jacquet on the outside alongside Kevon Seymour, with Nickel Roby-Coleman in the slot, Jalen Mills, and Marcus Epps at safety. So that was a tough secondary group charged with defending DeAndre Hopkins. And we'll get to, I guess, some of those plays, because Michael Jacquet, I thought, did very well, even though DeAndre Hopkins had such a big game. So the Cardinals jump out to a lead, a safety to start things off, as Jalen Hurts is called for intentional grounding in the end zone. The offense had a slow start. They're down 16-0. It looked like this might be a long day, and I think all the more impressive for the Eagles to then rally from there and make a game of it. Probably not something that we would have seen from the 2020 Carson Wentz-led Eagles.
No, you are right about that. And we could start at the beginning of the game. It was a disaster for the Eagles. And frankly, it looked at that point, between the safety, which was I give Jalen Hurts a lot of credit for the day he had. That was a bad safety, right?
I thought there was a case to be made. They didn't have a good replay. There was a case to be made that he was maybe borderline outside the tackle box. But one thing we have seen from him, he was not sacked at all last week. He took a bunch of sacks this week, some of them not necessarily his fault. He is not, super careful with the ball. He's got 4 fumbles in 2 games now. And I think it's kind of funny that it's like one of the comparisons you could make is to 2017 Carson Wentz. He's like, the Eagles go from one guy with ball control issues to another.
True, but he did not throw any interceptions, and he's had 2 games without interceptions. But yeah, so that was a bad play in that spot. Then, we can get to the special teams later, but just a disastrous day for the special teams. Blocked punt, and it was like, take your pick on who was going to block the punt. There was no blocking there. And so they fall into that 16-0 hole. And I thought Jalen Hurts at that point really responded. And you said the 2020 Carson Wentz Eagles don't have that type of effort. What jumped out to me there was, and you mentioned this earlier, the way Jalen Hurts threw the ball and really took advantage of the game through the air, right? He got different players involved. I know we're talking about the beginning of the game here, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. But we've talked about chunk plays, right? And how are they going to get chunk plays this year? The stat was they had 7 passes of 20 or more yards, I think it was. And that hasn't happened since Nick Foles in 2018.
Well, it was so interesting because I touched on this before, but it was so different he was successful in such a different way than he was last week. Last week it was lead with the legs and make a couple plays on quick one read throws on the outside. This game, like the game script put it in his arm, and he was able to do that. Last week he only threw two passes, only attempted two passes more than 20 yards downfield, and didn't complete any of them. And as you said, 7 plays for completions for over 20 yards in this game. I thought it was an impressive look into, there's this guy can win. I mean, they didn't win the game, but this guy can play in more than one way. It was exciting.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's what I asked Jalen after the game, because I thought that was the most encouraging development of his performance. I admit when they drafted him, and it's probably on record in our post-game pod, post-draft night pod, and then in the story, I watched a lot of Jalen Hurts in college. I said, there are questions about him as a passing quarterback. He was benched at halftime of the national championship game because he couldn't complete a pass, basically, right? Like, they needed a quarterback who can complete a pass. And it's a credit to how much he's improved as a passer during these past 3 years, that first off, his deep balls is really good. And we saw that during training camp, and that continues to be the case. That first
day, remember that very first day?
Yeah.
Quez Watkins dusts for Sewell Douglas.
He puts good air under it. He's accurate with it. He does a good job there. And
how about the juice on Quez Watkins running down the sideline?
The spin move and the run down the sideline.
We talk about Rager doesn't look that fast on the field. Quez Watkins looked fast.
That's your guy too. I mean, that was pre-draft. You were all over Quez.
That's true.
That was one of those lose the battle and win the war one, because I had written about John Hightower as the mid-round speed guy they should go after, and
I liked Hightower too. I liked him from the Shrine game, but
you had him.
I liked Quez more. Quez was one of my guys. Quez and Gabe Davis, who's having a great rookie season.
So you were all over that. Although I was all over Darnell Mooney late, and I think he had his 4th or 5th touchdown. Anyways, but we can stop.
That's more touchdowns than Jalen Rager.
We can stop patting ourselves on the back here. No, I thought, I thought the supporting cast helped him out more today too. And look, I need to say this on the podcast because we have ripped
because there's nowhere else to say it. Yeah.
Well, we have ripped Alshon Jeffrey. We've been very critical of the organization for the roster decision. Alshon Jeffrey for his performance. He showed up today.
Yeah, he did sort of.
I mean, the pass interferences he drew, that's part of being a wily veteran, right? That's right. Yeah.
It was, I mean, this was obviously his best game of the season. And as my subject or a name on the Zoom will tell you, I thought it was really just an embarrassing performance from Patrick Peterson to be getting dusted by Alshon Jeffrey.
I didn't think he was getting dusted by him though.
And I think there are people who are saying this on Twitter, and I think it's probably a fair thing to say. You think Alshon Jeffrey's trying as hard on some of those plays for Carson Wentz as he was for Jalen Hurts?
I don't want to say
it's hard not to read it that way. Yeah. I mean, you look at the quote unquote jump he had in that
Cleveland game,
in that Browns game. It's hard to imagine he would be making the same effort. Maybe he's just gotten that much more healthy. He looks fine, but I mean, at the same time,
Hurts going too, right?
But at the same time, Alshon Jeffrey did, was so great. Well, guess what? The Jalen Rager injury forces them to finally have Travis Fulgham on the field, and he has 2 huge catches on the final drive. He should still be on the field instead of Alshon Jeffrey.
Or at least be on the field more. You're absolutely right. But look, Zach Ertz has been nowhere to be found this year. He had 2 of his 3 longest completions, or I should say receptions of the season today. So Ertz was making plays. Like you said, Quez Watkins. Now that was those were yards after the catch. Greg Ward. That was a nice touchdown catch. I thought, and they got their screen game working a little better today. I thought just the whole offense functioned better with Jalen Hurts. So I think that speaks to Jalen Hurts and also speaks to Doug Peterson.
Marissa, it looks like we got a troll in the comments. What's going on over here?
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the comments. Somebody's saying they miss Sheil because we're not reading them. So I'm reading everything. So nothing gets past me. So
Feel
let's
free
all
to
be
jump in
nice.
anytime.
Let's all be nice, people. Yes, we have a few trolls in the chat. So let's all get along and not be mean to each other.
Jeremiah Dolan, go back to your mom's basement and go to sleep. You've got school tomorrow morning.
I did ask the chat how they were feeling about whether there would be an open competition, and a lot of people think that we're more leaning towards what Bo was saying, that Hurts shouldn't be an open competition.
Bad news. That must mean Zach's going to be right.
Well, and that goes back to the report this morning. I don't see a scenario like there's literally, or I shouldn't say literally here. I cannot imagine a scenario where Carson Wentz is on this roster and he's not the starting quarterback. I mean, maybe the only scenario is if he loses a quarterback competition and then you have him as a backup next year and you just eat the money the following offseason. But I think if you're bringing him back this year, you're committing to him as your guy. I think otherwise you trade him.
I do not think there is any scenario in which they can proclaim in the offseason that Carson Wentz is the starting quarterback, no competition. I do not think there's any way they can do that.
Well, then you trade him. Like if you're going to have a quarterback competition, you trade him, because like we've discussed on this pod.
I mean, maybe you stack the deck and you think that he's going to win the competition, but you cannot. Like, there is absolutely no way in which you can completely ignore what Jalen Hurts did and say, this guy's our starter, this guy's our backup.
But like as we've discussed, the league still, or people in the league, at least I don't want to say the entire league, still think highly of Carson. Whatever value Carson has now, okay, there is, like, if you have any question that, or I shouldn't say any question, if there's question enough to have a competition, then you just trade him, because you're not going to, if he loses the competition, I agree with that. There's no value at all to get from him.
I don't know if that's true. Because I think Hurts's level of play has helped the Eagles. If Hurts was bad and there was still going to have to be a competition, then Wentz looks worse. But Hurts has been so good that it makes it reasonable to try to trade Wentz without totally falling on your face and admitting defeat. I think. I
mean, well, no, I
think you can sell it as we found a different quarterback. You know, we're gonna.
I mean, this offseason,
like the Foles thing. We're gonna, yeah.
No, I agree with you. This offseason, I'm saying that if he comes back, he loses the competition. There is no value.
But what if
because then he's 2 years removed from productive. Then he's 2 years removed from any type of.
Yeah, but he hasn't been bad. He's been on the bench. He's a mystery. It's.
Yeah, but who's giving a valuable asset for a 29-year-old quarterback who's 2 years who hasn't played?
The Eagles traded.
The Eagles with Sam Bradford.
Exactly. Like it just takes one team. I don't
sure.
That crazy.
But I think like that's if you're going to have a competition, trade him this offseason, because I do think you can get value for him this offseason.
Yeah, I think we think the same thing. I think you're just slower to get to the end point.
No, but because I think you're
no. I don't mean slower. That's not. Marissa's asking. Laughing.
You're slower. No, I don't mean slower.
I just think I think you are, and this is a credit to you. You're more willing to go through the process, and I'm just fast forwarding to I think what is going to be the end point. Like the Eagles are no matter who the head coach is, they're going to come out this offseason and they're going to say, we've got 2 starting caliber quarterbacks. It's a good problem to have. All this stuff is great. We'll find out what happens in the summer, but we're not worried about it because it's the most important position in football. And then they're going to trade Carson Wentz.
I mean, yeah, like I think you're just not giving. I think Bo froze. Oh, okay. You're back now. It was a good face you were frozen on. I don't think you were giving enough weight to the possibility that they say Carson's upside's higher. Let's figure this out with Carson.
Okay. Well, I guess we've got a long off season.
Yeah, we're gonna have this. I'm sorry, Marissa. We're gonna be talking about this every week for about 30 weeks. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Bo's frozen
really
again.
Frozen.
While Bo figures that out, Yeah, but while Bo figures that out, there is something else that I want to share with our listeners here. Okay,
This
and
is an important one for
yes,
anyone looking to get engaged around the holidays.
well said.
You take it away.
No, I think that's. If you would like to read the ad, I mean, because if anyone's looking to get engaged, if anyone's looking to get engaged or anything like that, the episode is brought to you by 1010. Now, you may have read about this in the New York Times or Forbes, and we're excited to tell you about it. 1010 is an exclusive collection of 10 one-of-a-kind engagement rings designed by 10 of the most distinctive designers working today, using only diamonds responsibly sourced from Botswana. 10 design masters have each produced a uniquely beautiful commitment ring, launching exclusively on January 18th at BlueNile.com. And when they're gone, they are gone. We all know that the diamond engagement ring is iconic. It's a timeless expression of the deepest commitment between two people. And with 1010, it's been beautifully re-envisioned in the hands of 10 modern designers working exclusively with sustainably sourced diamonds. If you're making 2021 plans or looking for a unique and meaningful way to celebrate Valentine's Day, you're definitely going to want to check this out. Again, this is exciting, exciting limited edition collection of a diamond engagement rings, launches on January 18th, and you can preview it exclusively at BlueNile.com.
Great stuff, guys. Sorry about the internet.
Okay.
Let's do it. Let's do a couple of quick hits on the game itself, Zach. I made this point on Twitter, but like Quez Watkins, Michael Jacquet making like the biggest plays in this game. Jacquet forced 2 fumbles. I think is an important rebuttal to the idea that like playing to win is about playing your veterans. Like at some point,
absolutely,
you got to let the young guys play because maybe they are going to be better. Like maybe they're going to be really good and make game-winning plays.
You are absolutely right, and the only way to see talent is to play. Is to play.
That's a good one.
What's that?
The only way to see talent is to play talent. I like that.
And the veterans they haven't been working, right? So by the way, if this is no disrespect to Kevon Seymour, and Eagles don't really have a lot of those guys on the depth chart anyways, like depth cornerbacks, but I would rather have like the young draft pick than the recycled veteran, and this was the argument against playing Jamon Brown earlier this season, right? And there are other examples of this. Richard Rodgers, right? And Richard Rodgers has contributed for them, but
he's been the best tight end in the league.
but I think your point is accurate that it's not binary. Like you're either competing or you're playing younger players. Sometimes those younger players are better than the guys who are out there.
Well, yeah. I mean, think about the players who have been wins for think about the players who are going to be on the team next year in important roles that we've learned about this year by them just being forced into action. Jordan Mailata, maybe Jack Driscoll, maybe Nate Herbig, Travis Fulgham, Alex Singleton, I don't know, maybe Michael Jacquet. Like all these guys, there have been a bunch of guys who have not been good, but there have also been, Jamon Brown and Nate Gary or even like Vinny Curry, these guys who are soaking up snaps. And it turns out that maybe the guys behind them should have been taking a Josh Sweat. Like these guys should have been playing more all along.
You're right. I agree with you. And by the way, you could make the argument too that, and I thought Nickel Roby-Coleman actually played decently tonight or today, but
it's been bad, but yeah.
But you can make the argument that Michael Jacquet showed some promise earlier this summer, right? Maybe he should have gotten more time at outside corner, and you can play Avonte Maddox in the slot where he's played in the past, right? Just to get young juice on the field. Because I think I do think there's merit to what you said. I think sometimes there's this misconception, and it's no disrespect to what Jason Kelsey said the other day. I don't think you should be playing for a draft pick, but I don't think playing younger players means you're throwing in the towel.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like it's like the Jets winning today. Like the players on the field are always going to be still trying to win, whether or not the organization is set up. And if you're trying to lose, there's no better way to do it than have Adam Gase coach your team. So we'll
except when you play the Rams, right?
Yeah. How about that? What a turnaround.
That's like a franchise altering game.
I don't know. Maybe that makes the Jags GM job so attractive that people want that instead.
I mean, it's like Trevor Lawrence is that good. Watching him last night, yesterday afternoon rather. It was the 4:00 game. But I don't know. Did you watch that one?
No, I didn't. I haven't watched a college football game all year.
Oh.
I watched parts of it.
You watch parts of it?
It's the same four teams every year.
And
like, what's the point?
You're seeing the gap between the other quarterbacks behind him, too.
Exactly.
So
yeah, Fields was.
Can't be feeling too good right now.
I was watching a lot. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I was watching that Big Ten game.
Yeah.
And I've been I've been a Fields believer, but man, the gap between Trevor Lawrence and the other guys is significant.
Yeah.
There's no Ivy League football.
You haven't watched a single college football
There's no
game.
college football for me. Yeah.
But I guarantee you before the draft, you're going to have like the boldest draft picks on these guys.
I'm going to do my work. Yeah. I'm going to inform my decisions. It's not like watching a couple games on the game broadcast is going to make me that much more knowledgeable. Sure
it will. It's more exposure to these guys.
I think that's debatable. I think that could be fool's gold. You know what we did yesterday? Case and I were doing a lot of baking cookies, doing some holiday cookies, and then we got in the car and gave them to some friends in the city. And then today we were gonna give some plates of cookies to the neighbors. And I created such a cookie giving monster that like a couple of the neighbors who we know weren't there to answer the door, and so Casey was insisting that we just continue down the block knocking on random doors until we got somebody who was home. So we gave them to a couple of randos today just so we could give them away.
What kind of cookies were they?
We did 4 different kinds of cookies. He did his grandma helped with some sugar cookies, and then we did some Wolf classics, some Wolf holiday classics. There's like a chocolate like brownie crinkle thing. There's a like an oatmeal base with like a dark chocolate and nuts on top, and then there's my personal favorite, which is it's called I believe a snowball, which is like some walnuts or
I've had those, yeah.
Pecans mixed in with the dough for like some confectionery sugar, and then rolled in a little confectionery sugar. I like those. Those are my favorites.
Nice. Right.
You're making me hungry.
Yeah, that's a good activity with your son.
106 will be a
Casey and I will drive over to you and we'll drop off a plate.
But they're not gluten free. You got to do a gluten free option next time.
That's true.
They definitely don't taste as good.
What did you do other than watch football yesterday, Zach?
I spent some time I spent a lot of time with my family. Yeah, I mean, I hung out with the kids. Yeah, it was like frigid outside, so there wasn't.
Am I cutting out again?
Much to do. No, you're here. I took a walk with them, but yeah, I think you're frozen now, but it was frigid outside.
And the face that he's frozen on is pretty great. Anything else we should touch on while Bo's here? John? Oh.
You back?
What happened?
He's back.
I'm back, yeah.
You froze on a really...
funny picture?
Yeah.
What were you going to say we needed to touch on?
No, I was asking Zach if there's anything else we need to touch on while
we should probably
gone.
start to wrap things up now so we don't get this happen again. Okay, what's... were there any game Peterson game management decisions we need to talk about?
Yeah, there were. There was a punt on a 4th and 6. I think it was at the 42, maybe 43.
Now, was that Elliott's first punt or?
No. This was when Cam Johnston was.
It was Johnson's last punt.
Yeah.
Okay.
That I think that I thought they should have gone for that. I thought they should have gone for 2.
And that was when they called that bad screen on 3rd and 6, which I think if they had gained a little bit, then they would have gone.
Yeah, you made that point there. Yeah. I thought Doug should have gone for the 2-point conversion when Cam was out. Now that was a bad snap by Lovato. Aqib Talib.
Yeah, well, it's so tough. Like it's what a tough deal for Ertz.
Yeah. If the regular holder was out there, he would have scooped it up. I don't know. Like that was like a ground ball. Yeah.
What is a was a really bad snap? Come on, Lovato, give Ertz a shot.
I thought Jake Elliott did a good job punting. Like that, the second punt he had was a real good punt.
Yeah, it was.
And then I thought, but I don't want to rip on the broadcasters too much because I've never broadcasted like an NFL game. I don't know how they get this information. But first off, they made no mention of the fact that Jake Elliott was out. I was watching the game and I was like,
mentioned it once.
No. At first when it happened.
Oh yes, at first when it happened. Yes.
So I saw number 4 back there. And I'm like, wait, that's weird. And then the Eagles announced that Johnston had a head injury. Mm-hmm. And then, but they didn't announce it on the broadcast. And they were debating, like the Eagles went for a 4th down, and they were debating whether they should go for it or not. And they didn't acknowledge that the Eagles punter was hurt.
I put that on the producer and the play-by-play guy a little bit.
Yeah.
But like they also had the timeouts wrong at the end of the first half. Which I would put on the broadcast itself. I liked Talib. Given the alternatives, I enjoyed Aqib Talib. Yeah, give me a little something different.
Exactly. But then I think too. I don't want to run too far over. I know you got a lot of writing ahead of you. But and Marissa has like a lot of work in general. Like she produces 18 podcasts.
I got a Browns pod tonight after this that has a total different tone.
Seriously, their coach and quarterback are in.
Yeah, they're ready to start celebrating on that.
Some injuries along the offensive line though that they need to be worried about.
Yes, they did, but they
have a lot of depth there. So that's they have a lot of depth.
They do have a lot of depth
on the offensive line. Yeah,
but special teams.
Nick Harris.
So do I.
Nick Harris?
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked him in the draft.
Yeah, no, he looked great tonight. He filled in on the second play of the game for Chris Hubbard and really did well. I don't think Baker was sacked once, so Baker's looking really good.
Marissa should host this podcast. She knows more than both of us.
I mean, without a doubt.
Special teams was a disaster. And
disaster. Do you think there's any chance Phipp is back?
I can't see that. No, I mean, if there's a new coach you bring in, Phipp's a nice guy, but this has been, I mean, the whole unit's underperformed this year. Now. And then tonight, we mentioned the blocked.
We mentioned the block kick, but we didn't mention the fake punt.
Yeah, they fell for a fake there, and they just looked unprepared for it. Right now, I don't know how you.
They had the defense on the field.
Yeah, like Jalen Mills and Marcus Epps. Yeah, Jalen Mills and Marcus Epps just both jumped, just like I guess didn't recognize it. Their first step was in. It's like when you play outfield and they say your first step has to be out, right? Because it's harder to run back once you take a step forward. But that was bad. And I mean, I'm not going to put the punter getting injured on him, but those 2 plays were major problems in the game.
And they have no juice in the return game. I mean,
no juice. I mean, they're still not putting Jalen Reagor back there. So,
well, and also like even the kickoff returns, like you've got
Boston Scott just runs into the wall.
You got Blake Countess. They called him up to the roster. He's a good kickoff returner. Let him return kicks.
Yeah, true.
Just an idea. All right. Well, we do have lots to get to, and I think we're going to do a supersized episode on Wednesday, a 2-for-1er.
Great.
With
right?
2 Bermans.
2 Bermans.
No, I don't think we have enough time for that, honestly.
Well, you count as one.
We've got all
thank you. I count as one.
We've got nothing but time. I think if I believe the commenters laid down the law, I believe 2 brothers or 1 wife.
No.
Think about it. 2 brothers is better.
If you have a wife and a brother, I say he gets a flat out win.
Well, I don't know if I can go for that.
Actually, but I don't know if I want to subject my wife to this. Like I think my.
Well, that would be the criteria.
I think 2 brothers is good because then it deflects the attention on just one. Then you get a little bit more of a back.
Or they could just team up. That might make it worse.
Right then, all of a sudden, then the Bermans would outnumber the non-Bermans.
Well, no, there'll be 3 of you.
That's true.
Yeah. Anyways, there's a loaded show on Wednesday because we need to talk about what's going on with the team midweek, and then we need Shields' evaluation of the game. We have super forecasting, and we have our predictions.
And just to quickly set the scene, the Eagles, we haven't even talked about this, are not eliminated from the playoffs. So they remain a game and a half back of Washington. What they need is to finish 2-0 against the Cowboys and Washington in Week 17, and they need Washington to lose to the Panthers next week, and they also need the Giants to lose at least one more game. The Giants play at Baltimore next week, which you would think is a loss, and then they play the Cowboys in Week 17. And the interesting wrinkle is that both Washington and the Giants play next week at 1:00. The Eagles play the Cowboys at 4:25. So the Eagles theoretically will know by kickoff whether or not they control their own destiny or whether they have been eliminated from the playoffs. So it could still happen. I don't think it's that Washington, Carolina, Washington will be favored, but I don't think it's insane to think that Carolina could pull off that upset, especially against Dwayne Haskins.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. So an interesting week ahead and an interesting several months coming. That'll do it for this episode of Birds with Friends. Thanks for listening and for watching and commenting on YouTube. Shout out to the trolls in the comments. I hope that you find Templar wherever he is and you guys can hang out together. For Zach, Marissa, and Sheil, I'm Bo. And for all the rest of the Bermans, thanks for listening, and we love you.